Shalom, brothers. In this lesson, I'm going to deal with this controversial scripture in Deuteronomy 23 and 7. You know, because there's a lot of misconceptions going on about this scripture. They've been going on for a while, and the main guys that's using this scripture here is guys that call themselves Israelites that want to save these damn devils. I mean, they're looking for any little nook and cranny. They're looking to save the Esau and save the so-called white man more than the so-called white man is looking to save himself. You know, so one brother asked a question on the Lexicon of GMS page, and they asked, about what this is one of the scriptures they asked about. So, Lord's will, we're gonna go through it, break it down, so you brothers can see that Deuteronomy 23 and 7 is not speaking about an Edomite. Alright, so we're going to start off by reading the scripture first and then going through it. Alright, Deuteronomy 23 and 7. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou wast a stranger in his land. Alright, now, first and foremost, the word abhor does not mean to hate. It means to avoid. To set aside as abominable. Alright? And we'll go through explaining why this is written. But the word Edomite there, it says thou shalt not abhor Edomite, for he is thy brother. The word Edomite does not belong there, because the word Edomite was never placed there. This was placed after them so-called Masoretes took over in around the 10th century AD, after the Khazars had already been established as a nation, and as being, them so-called Jews were established as, supposedly taking over and being Israelites, which that goes into a whole nother topic. They really didn't convert to the scriptures, the Torah, which they call Torah, and the Tanakh, or which they call Tanakh, which is the Old Testament scriptures. They didn't convert to those Old Testament scriptures, because you can't convert anyway. But what they did was they converted to what's called Judaism, which was a practice that was followed, beginning with the Pharisees, which were Israelites. As Elder Gabar always goes into that topic, and they basically took on that trend once they took over, because, they're the devil. So when it says thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, when the Masoretes took over the translations of the Bible, what they did was they inserted this in there. And that's not the word that belongs there. Alright, we got here, this is in the Blue Letter Bible, Deuteronomy 23 and 7. Alright, that's the English. Then in the Hebrew, the verse is the 23rd chapter and the 8th verse, as you can see here. And as you see, I mainly focus on this word here, because this is the word that they say is Edomite. Now you have the word Adamaya or Adamya. Alright, and I wrote it down here, Adamya or Adamaya, which equals Edomite, and I put a question mark here. Alright, so we're going to find out in this lesson that word Edomite is not even here in this chapter. Now the word for Edom, or the word Edom in the Hebrew, is not Adamya or Adamaya. Alright, the word for Edom, as you see here, is Adawamya. This is the word for Edom right here, Adawamya, Edomite. Adawamya. Adawamya is Edomite. Now the word Adawam, without the ya at the end, means Edom. So that's the word that should have been there if there was going to be a word for Edom there. Should have been Adawam. Alright? Now let's move on from there. Now this right here is from the Strong's Concordance number 130. Alright? And this is the word that's there, as we read already, Adamya or Adamaya, however you want to pronounce it. But it's more than likely is Adamya, because of the fact that the word that really belongs there is Aramya. Alright, so we're going to get to that, which means Syrian. Alright, so now you see here, right, when you read on down here to the outline of biblical usage, it says here Edomite. But then as you read down here, the authorized version of the KJV translation count, here you see Edomite, and then you see Syria. Why? Because there's certain times where the the Syrian language, the word for Edom and the word for Assyrian, for Syrian, were mixed up. You know, sometimes they did it. They did it on purpose. Most of the time, they did it on purpose, especially in scriptures like Deuteronomy, the 23rd chapter, and the 7th verse. But sometimes the da and the ra, which I did a lesson on that, the da and the ra they look similar. That's why it could have been a possibility in certain parts of the Bible that could have been confused, and put there mistakenly. That is a possibility. But I know definitely in the book of Deuteronomy, the 23rd chapter, and the 7th verse, they did that maliciously and intentionally. Because what them so-called Jews have been trying to do, their whole existence basically is to try to get the birthright back. So what they did was they put that scripture in there into the Edomite, thou shalt not abhor Edomite, because they know that they're Edomites. So they're trying to make it seem like they're getting some type of mercy, in the scriptures, when all throughout the scriptures, when you read every scripture about Esau or Edom, it was always something negative or wicked that they did, or some future judgment that the Most High was going to bring upon them. There's nowhere in the scriptures where it ever spoke about anything about Esau or the Edomites receiving any form of mercy. But then all of a sudden, Deuteronomy 23 and 7, it's gonna. That's just an exception. Nah, even in the Compact Bible Dictionary, when you look up under the word Edom, which I'll read real quick, this is the under Edom, right? The last paragraph, it says this. It says Edom figures prominently in the prophetic scriptures as the scene of great future judgments. See notably Isaiah 34 verse 5 and 6 and Isaiah 63 and 1. She is the only neighbor of the Israelites who was not given any promise of mercy from the Most High. Alright? So all throughout the scriptures you read about Esau's judgments, the wickedness of Esau being the wicked, but then all of a sudden here, in Deuteronomy 23 and 7, it shows mercy to the Edomites. Come on, man, that don't make no damn sense. And then there's a reason for it. So they changed that. And they changed a few words in there, because some of the stuff they didn't have to change. They pretty much kept it, basic, and kept it, true to the letter. But a lot of things that were very key and very important, they changed. Like this Edomite thing was one of the main ones. Alright, so it says here Edomite, Syria. Alright, now, as you read through here, it gives you, the history on Esau and certain, points, about Edom and their land and where they lived. And then when you read down here, you see the word here, Arawum-yum. Alright, Arawum-yum. Then it says here, 2 Kings 16 and 6, an incorrect reading for Adawum-yum. Alright, so this is Arawum-yum, right, which is Aramaean or Syrian. 2 Kings 16 and 6, an incorrect reading for Adawum-yum. Alright, which stands in Quarayah, which is the reading, and I'll show you what they mean by that. And then you read through here, and it gives you different instances where the word Edomite comes up, and where the number 130 is applied to that particular word or that particular name. Alright, now most of these here, I did a show on Doeg. Now here it says that Doeg was an Edomite, but then when you go through it, I did a show on it. Doeg was really Syrian. He wasn't an Edomite, he was Syrian. But here it has Edomite in the English translation. They did that on purpose to try to throw people off. Because if you're trying to wake up, or if you're waking up, they got to put stumbling blocks, because the Lord said that his word was going to be a stumbling block. So he had to have somebody set up those stumbling blocks. So the stumbling blocks that were set up by the Masoretes and the so-called Jews, through the Biblical Destruction Group, other groups such alike, and later on, not too far in the future from that point, they had what was called as the Learned Elders of Zion, which they did a number on certain things in the scriptures, but the Spirit of the Lord has given us that spiritual filter to go through it and be able to look through and find out what's right and what's wrong, And our concern is not to try to convince the gainsayer as far as, well, yeah, we do convince the gainsayer, but our job is not to try to break this down to people that don't, not to receive it. You know, I mean, if there's a gainsayer, yeah, you know, you work with them, you know, but we're at the point now where we're past that right now. You know, we're at the end. The Lord is looking for his elect, and if you can't see it, then it ain't for you. Then just keep moving. You know, don't waste your time, because you're just gonna waste your time. You know, and me for one, and I know other brothers feel the same way. I'm not really gonna keep going back and forth with somebody, you know, for a period of, you know, 2-3 hours, you know, or a couple of days or whatever, or a week, you know, back and forth with a guy, you know, try to make him get it or understand it. I'm not gonna do that anymore, because the Lord said that the time is gonna come where there's gonna be a famine of the word, and that time is very, very near. You know, so those of you that understand and see and can really understand this truth and can really get with it and can really appreciate it and learn it, then feel blessed, brothers. You know, because you got other guys out there that are not gonna get this, no matter how hard they try, and other guys are just gonna be straight up demons. You know, but like I said, if you read through here, you see the word Edomite, which is also applied to number 130. Now, one thing I like to mention always is that when you go through these numbers here, these are called strong numbers, you know, which were applied to the Hebrew and to the Greek. All right, these are numbers that Esau put on here. You know, these numbers then were in the Torah in the beginning. These are numbers that they put to it, and even when you read about the when you read about the Strong's Concordance, they even tell you that this is not a breakdown of the scriptures. It's just a reference to let you know where certain words are in there that you're looking for. Like, for example, if you're looking for God so loved the world, you will look certain key words up and you will find it in the scriptures. If you're looking for a scripture in the Old Testament, you will type in the key word, and then they will give you a number or a reference to where you can find that every place in the scripture. And that's all the Strong's Concordance was for. And then you got these clowns out here that try to use the Strong's Concordance as the end all be all of the breakdown of the scriptures. It's not a breakdown of the scriptures, it's just breakdown of certain words. Alright, so now as we move on through here, this, like I told you, brothers, those of you that can afford it, I know times are hard. Times are hard. You know, but if you can afford the book form, it's good to have the book form. It's also good to have it online, the Blue Letter Bible. This is the Strong's Concordance in the book form, right? And then this is the numbers that they gave it, and this is the number 130, which when you read in the Blue Letter Bible for "Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite," this is the number that they gave it. All right, you see here Adamya or Adamaya. Then it says here, or fully. It's blurred out, but you can see here Adawumya. Alright, Adawumya, which that's the proper word. That should have been there if that was a word that was there. Alright. Edomi, as they pronounce it. It says from 123, an Edomite, or descended from or inhabitant of Edom. Edomite. Then it says C726. So remember, this is the number that they applied to "Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite." But then as you read through here, it says that C726. Now, why would they say that? Well, let's find out. 726. Arawumya. Arawumya. Alright? Now, you notice if you look at this and you look at the word Edomite, they look similar. You know, Arawumya, Adawumya. See, they look similar. The only thing that separates it is a Ra and a Da. So they were very clever in what they did. And when you read through here, it says a clerical error for 130, which we just read, an Edomite. So this is a clerical error. Alright, it says as in the margin, Syrian. So there's certain places where you see the word Syrian in the English and the word Edomite should be there. And there's certain places in the English that you see the word Edomite and the word Syrian should be there. That's all that means. So it says a clerical error for number 130, an Edomite. As in the margin, Syrian. So basically, there's certain places where it should be Syrian, and there's certain places where it should be Edomite. And in the case of Deuteronomy 23:7, the word that should be there is "Thou shalt not abhor a Syrian." All right. Now let's move on. This is 2 Kings 16 and 6, and I'm going to give you an example of that. It says, at that time Rezin, king of Syria, recovered Elath to Syria, and drave the Jews from Elath. And the Syrians came to Elath, and dwelt there unto this day. Now you notice I have Syrians here underlined. Why? Because this is the word that we're going to be dealing with. Alright, so now let's go to the next frame. And this is the book of 2 Kings 16 and 6. And I highlighted here Rum Yum, which is and Syrians, right? Now if you notice all these other letters in the Hebrew here, they're all black. But then when you come here, it's highlighted in blue. Then when you go to the Blue Letter Bible and you actually click on it, you'll have a drop down menu. Because right here it says Rum Yum and Syrians. But when you click on it in the Blue Letter Bible, it has a drop down menu. And this is the drop down menu. And I highlighted Rum Yum, right? Because that was a word that is supposed to be there, Syrian, right? But then when you read it, it says Quara reading, which Quara means reading. Or really it should be Quawara, which is reading. Quara is read. Alright, below is the Quara reading or read for Rum Yum. So in other words, it's letting you know that in that place where this word is at, Rum Yum, this is the word that should be there. Wam Yum. So it says the Quara readings are corrections made to the Hebrew text around the 10th century AD by the Masoretes because of their reverence for biblical texts. So you know they try to put this thing here like they're so noble. You know, they were so noble that they just had to make these corrections. You know, so that because they just wanted to keep true to the text. But that's how the devil does. You know, in this case they were correct. They were right on point with it. I got no qualms about that. But in other parts of the scriptures, they went totally off and they did it on purpose. You know? So now what I want to do is I'm going to go back here to 2 Kings 16 and 6. So as she said, at that same time, Rezin, king of Syria, recovered Elath to Syria, and drave the Jews from Elath, and the Syrians came to Elath, and dwelt there unto this day. So really it should read, and the Edomites came to Elath and dwelt there unto this day. Because if you know anything about this region of land here, that's on the Gulf, on the northern part of the Gulf of Aqaba. You had a place called Elath, and then you had a place called Ezion Geber, which was being fought between Judah and Edom. You know, they were fighting over that land. So Judah had it at this time when the Syrians came in there, and they took it from Judah, as you see here, Jews, and they gave it to the Edomites. So that's the word that should be there. So why do they have the word Syrian here? Because the translation should have been Edomite, but they have the word Syrian. Because sometimes they did it on purpose, and sometimes they made mistakes. You know, because the word for Syrian and the word for Edomite are similar looking in the Hebrew. All right, now let's move on. Right, and now this is the Septuagint. Right now, Elder Tahar did a show on the Septuagint, you know, and basically they go off on here a lot, you know, and they do it on purpose too. But there were certain things in here, certain translations that they made in the Septuagint that were okay, because they didn't have to lie about it. But the points that they had to lie, like the virgin birth thing, you know, and stuff like that, they lied about it. All right. Now here, as you read through here, you see it's talking about the Syrians right here. Surias, which is Syrian. Suria, Syrian, right? And as you read through here, you have what? I'm sorry, Idumio. Idumio. Right? So Idumio is Edomite. All right? Which lets you know that the same scripture we read, it says Syrian, but really it should be Edomite. Alright, so that's letting you know the difference between the two breakdowns. Alright, now the next frame is Deuteronomy 23 and 7. Again, it says, thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, or it should say, thou shalt not abhor a Syrian, for he is thy brother. Now, that will throw you off because it says he is thy brother. And you say, but wait a minute, the Edomites were our brothers. You know, how can an actual Aramaean or Syrian be our brother? Well, let's find out. Alright, this is Okay, I went back and all right, that was the whole thing that I had there. All right, now let's go here to the scriptures and let's go to the book of Deuteronomy 26, just to find out what the deal was with, because the burden of proof is what, to find out that why did it call the Syrian our brother. you know that's the burden of proof. Why did they call the Syrian our brother? Because Esau, we know, was our brother, basically based on the scriptures. So now how do we know that what you're saying is not, you're not just making it up, that the scriptures say that Esau is Jacob's brother. So now how can you say that the Syrians are Jacob's brother? Well, we're going to find out. Deuteronomy 26:1. And it shall be, when thou art come in unto the land which the Lord thy power giveth thee for an inheritance, and possessed it, and dwellest therein, this is the Most High speaking to Jacob, that thou shalt take of the first of all the fruit of the earth, which thou shalt bring of thy land, that the Lord thy power giveth thee, and shall put it in a basket, and shall go unto the place which the Lord thy power shall choose to place his name there. And thou shalt go unto the priest that shall be in those days, and say unto him, I profess this day unto the Lord thy power, that I am come unto the country which the Lord sware unto our fathers for to give us. And the priest shall take the basket out of thine hand, and set it down before the altar of the Lord thy power. And thou shalt speak and say before the Lord thy power, a Syrian ready to perish was my father. So who is he speaking about here? He's speaking about Abraham. So the scriptures call Abraham Syrian. But he really wasn't Syrian, but he was living in that land. Because where was Abraham born? He was born in Ur of the Chaldees, right? So if he was born in Ur of the Chaldees, why did they call him Syrian? It was because when he left out of Ur of the Chaldees, which the Most High separated him from there to give him the land of Israel, which was called the land of Canaan at that time, he took a journey, and the journey that he took, the so-called scholars today call it the Fertile Crescent. So as he was going up on the uphill of the Fertile Crescent, as you go up going towards like Turkey, you have a place there called Haran, and Haran was named after one of Abraham's brothers. That's where he landed at right there. He stopped there for a minute, and they were there for a while, and that's why it called him Syrian. So it says, a Syrian ready to perish was my father. Then from that point on, then he came down and went, as it says here, and he went down into Egypt and sojourned there with a few, and became there a nation great, mighty, and populous. All right, so that's why it called Abraham Syrian, but he really wasn't a Syrian. All right, and just like they call Bethuel Syrian, they call Laban Syrian, they call Rebecca Syrian. They weren't Syrian. They were of Abraham's line through his father Terah, and one of Abraham's brothers, and I believe the brother's name was Nahor, because Abraham had two brothers, Haran, which died, and then you had Nahor. All right, and I'm gonna show you that. All right, but before I go there, I want to go to the book of Genesis, the 29th chapter. Let me hold on to that just in case we need it again. Genesis, the 29th chapter, just to further prove to you that what they call Syrian, which they really weren't Syrian, you know what, before I go there, before I actually go there, I'm going to go here to this scripture here real quick, Genesis 22 and 20, just to show you that, because Abraham wasn't Syrian. Abraham, Bethuel, Rebecca, and Laban, they weren't Syrian. Even though they were called Syrian in the book of Genesis, the 25th chapter, they were called that because they lived in that land. Sometimes people were called by the name of the land that they lived in. All right, and you have examples of that today. So this is Genesis 22 and 20. And it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Milcah, she had also borne children unto thy brother Nahor. All right, this is one of Abraham's brothers, the one that was left alive. So Milcah was his wife. So it said that she bore him children, right? It says, Huz his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Kemuel the father of Aram. Now this is not the Aram in the book of Genesis, the 10th chapter, because this is way after. This is Huz, his firstborn, and Buz, his brother, and Kemuel, the father of Aram. All right, so these are sons of Nahor. All right, and then it says, and Kemuel, the father of Aram, and Chesed, and Hazor, and Pildash, and Jidlaph, and Bethuel. So Bethuel, which was the father of Rebekah, was born unto Nahor, Abraham's brother. Now we know that Abraham came out of what? He came out of the line of Arphaxad. When you go into the book of Genesis, the 10th chapter, Shem had 5 sons. Matter of fact, let me get that real quick. Shem had 5 sons. This is Genesis 10. Just get that for you real quick. Genesis 10 and around 22. Right, it says the children of Shem, Elam, and Asher, and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram. So Abraham came out of Arphaxad's line. He didn't come out of Aram. Alright? So that's why it says back here that and Chesed, and Hazor, and Pildash, and Jidlaph, and Bethuel. And Bethuel was what? He was called Syrian in Genesis the 25th chapter. And Bethuel begat Rebekah. These 8 Milcah did bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother. Abraham's brother. Alright? And his concubine, whose name was Reumah, she bare also Tebah, and Gaham, and Tahash, and Maacah. So you see, Nahor was Abraham's brother. Bethuel was Abraham's son. Rebekah was Bethuel's daughter. So that's why it said, thou shalt not abhor Syrian, because he is thy brother. That's why when you read here in Genesis 29, and you go down to the, just bear with me 1 second here. I don't have this written down, so I gotta find the exact verse. Alright, let me start here. It says, Genesis 29 and 10. And it came to pass when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob went near, and rolled a stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel, and lifted up his voice, and wept. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother. See? And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother. Alright? Now if you don't understand that Bethuel came from Nahor, and Nahor came out of Terah, which is Abraham's father, and they all came out of the line of Arphaxad, you won't really understand what this is saying. And that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. And it came to pass, when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob his sister's brother, that he ran to meet him, and embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. And Laban said to him, surely thou art my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month. And Laban said unto Jacob, because thou art my brother. See, because thou art my brother, shouldest thou therefore serve me for naught? Tell me, what shall thy wages be? So that's why when you read, let's see if I could pull it up again. When you read in Deuteronomy, the 23rd chapter, and the 7th verse, thou shalt not abhor a Syrian, for he is thy brother. Now you understand what that means, because these so-called Syrians, like Abraham wasn't Syrian, he just lived in that land. Laban, Bethuel, Rachel, they weren't Syrian. They just happened to be living in that land. That's why they were called by that name. But they really were of the line of Arphaxad, of the line of Terah, of the line of Nahor, Abraham's brother. So when it says thou shalt not abhor a Syrian, that's what it means, not Edomite. So these Masoretes, they were very cunning when they put that in there. And they did that on purpose to deceive those that are waking up, because they are the devil. They are the devil, and that's it. So you guys out there that's teaching this nonsense about Deuteronomy 23 and 7, this is not a scripture that you can go to and pull out and try to get people to accept Edomites or these so-called white people out here to be delivered, because they're not going to be delivered. Alright? Now that I showed you an example in the scriptures, where the word Syrian was mistranslated as the word Syrian should have been translated as Edomite. Now I'm going to show you an example of where the word Edomite should have been translated as Syrian. All right, just so you can know that it goes either way. It just doesn't apply to the word Syrian. It applies to the word Edomite also, depending on what scripture you're speaking about. All right, this is the book of 1 Samuel 21:7, and it says, "Now a certain man of the servants of Saul was there that day, detained before the Lord, and his name was Doeg an Edomite, the chiefest of the herdmen that belonged to Saul." Now you read this Doeg the Edomite, and you won't know what the hell it means, because you're looking at it, and you looking at it for face value as being an actual Edomite. But let's find out, is Doeg really an Edomite, or is he of another nation? Well, let's find out. Now when you go here, this is in the Hebrew. 1 Samuel is 21:7, and in the Hebrew it's 21:8. There's a difference sometimes in the verses. All right, and as you read through here, once again you see Da'ag ha-Adamya. All right, Da'ag ha-Adamya, Doeg the Edomite. All right, now remember what we said about the word Edom and the word Aram. They look similar sometimes in the Hebrew in the way that they spell them. So these Masoretes, like we told you before, these Masoretes did a number on certain scriptures just to try to fit themselves into receiving some sort of mercy, because they knew that the Most High didn't show them any mercy. All right, so this is the Hebrew text, right? As you see here, Masoretic text, and that's what it says. It says Da'ag ha-Adamya. But then when you go here in the Septuagint, which they go off, but like we said before also, some parts of the Septuagint they on point with, and this happens to be one of them. And as you read all through here, it says here, Doeg ho Sudos. Doeg o Sudos, which is Doeg the Syrian. All right, now we'll go to the next one, and this is you see here, Doeg o Sudos, Doeg o Sudos, and what do you see here? Doeg the Syrian. Doeg the Syrian, to let you know that there's certain times when you have the word Edomite there, right, in the English, and it seems like it's in the Hebrew, but it's not, because they put it in there maliciously, and they changed the da from a ra, and then you go here, you see Sudos, Doeg or Sudos, and then you see what? You see Doeg or Sudos, and you see the translation in the English here. It says Doeg the Syrian. Doeg the Syrian. Just to let you know that these devils, they're clever in how they do things, but the Lord has allowed us to dig for the stuff that needs to be dug for. And some of you brothers out there will find certain things, but we don't really like to say that too much, because sometimes brothers or try to use that, for their madness, like Abraham Lincoln. Oh, this brother or this elder said that Lord will reveal things to us. Yeah, but you have to know how to sift things out, make sure that what you found out ain't no goddamn bullshit. So this is it right here. That's Doeg the Syrian. Once again, this is an example of where the word Edomite in the English is really should have been translated Syrian. And we read in the book of 2 Kings 16:6 where the word Syrian was used there, and it should have been Edomite. All right, just go through here again so let you know. Sudos, which is Syrian, it's the same verse, and right here Doeg the Syrian. All right, so with that, I hope you brothers learned something, and to the next time, we say shalom.